and welcome to episode 9.
Episode 9, congratulations.
Episode 9 of How to Socialize Online. I'm here with Cam of What Productions. He is the videography master. He has about 45 different props ready to show you. I'm not even kidding. When he said he was going to get props, I said, oh, what, like a feather boa and stuff? No, a tad more expensive than that.
We're going to fly a drone in here as well.
And we're going to fly a drone in here. I'm going to get on it. We're all going to fly around. We're going to deliver Uber Eats to people. No, I'm totally kidding. So, Cam.
Wasn't it Bunnings hot dogs?
Yeah.
Remember
I do a
that
hot
guy?
dog.
Yeah, he got
I'm down for
he got a $9,000 fine. Yeah, because he flew his drone over people and dangerously, so we got to be careful.
Yeah, well, I know it's a whole thing. But anyway, we'll get to that. So, Cam, please tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes, so my name is Cameron Watt. I'm a filmmaker and film director. I was born in Perth and I now reside in Melbourne. And I own a company called Viral Media Production. My trading name is Watt Production. And I started the business just under 3 years ago.
Sure.
And thank you. And it was with the motive initially of social media content. I saw the space starting to get some momentum, and I made a few small videos for my old business, which was designing homes. So I had a camera and a drone. Yeah, I did that for 8 years. I worked in the residential property market, designing new homes and selling house and land packages and stuff like that. And then I transitioned into film about 3 years ago professionally. And now I focus on making really high quality social media content, very narrative-based content, and actually getting into film and feature filmmaking and everything like that. So,
who's your idol in the filmmaking world?
Yeah, there's a few of them. If I cast my mind back to older generations, Stanley Kubrick would be one of my favorite film directors.
Amazing. Would you go into movie production?
Yeah, for sure. It's already happening.
Call him Mr. Hollywood.
Yeah, it's exciting. I've been passionate about film since I was sort of 16, 17, 18.
That's so cool.
And I wanted to be an actor. However,
did you?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, so I've been in a few movies now over in Melbourne. I've actually kept it really hush.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Movie star, Mr. Hollywood.
No, not a star, but
rolls out the red carpet.
An extra. I've been an extra.
Yeah.
I've had some pretty cool roles where I've actually been on camera. I've been an airline pilot. I've been a businessman.
Oh.
Been on a few TV shows.
Stop it.
Yeah, so it's kind of I keep it pretty secret at the moment because a lot of them are just coming out now, so I'm under contract.
Oh, okay.
So I can't post pictures and stuff like that just yet, but when they actually go to air, I can drop those bombs and everyone's
wow, that's so cool. What a cool story.
That's
what a cool journey.
Thank
for
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now I want to talk about how you got into filmmaking.
Yep.
So you just said you've been into it since you're 16-ish, so how did that happen?
So I was very fascinated by it when I was younger. I borrowed my dad's Sony Handycam and wanted to make surfing videos.
Yeah, do you still have it? Does it work?
Well, here's the answer. The first time my father lent it to me, and I had the waterproof housing and everything. I was down at Scarborough Beach, and my friends have paddled out on their boards.
I'm scared.
And I've got this yellow Sony $3,000 camera. This is going back 20 years ago almost, bearing in mind.
I'm getting sweaty palms.
Into the water I go, and I look through the viewfinder, and blop, 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 fills up with water because the strap that goes around your neck got stuck between the seal.
No.
But luckily Dad had insurance, so he got a brand new camera. I felt like an absolute stooge, and I hung up my filmmaking boots for probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay, understandable.
And then GoPros came out.
Okay, yes.
And I started making videos with GoPro, but I never knew how to edit. That was the big thing.
Testify.
So, yeah, that was a big part of the jigsaw puzzle. When I figured that out, that's when things changed.
Yeah. Well, that's really what sets you apart from anyone just grabbing a camera and obviously what it is that you do.
Yeah, or even trying to find people to edit content for you.
Yeah.
It used to be really difficult, and I tried because I went on a big holiday 6 years ago to Europe. And I took some GoPros and a mirrorless Sony, and I filmed some amazing content. And my mentality was I wanted to come back to Perth and find a film school student or someone like that that could edit this video for me, and I was willing to pay them. And just even trying to find someone, it was almost impossible. So it's really exciting now.
That was 6 years ago.
6 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really exciting now that that space has opened up, and what you can do on like even a cell phone or a laptop, you can make a feature film now on a laptop, which is incredible. So yeah, it's very exciting, very exciting.
I love it. Okay, so let's get on to your customer. So tell me about your customer and how you help them.
How I help them. Okay. My clients range, I don't pigeonhole myself to industries.
Okay.
What I firstly look for is, are they adding value to the community, and do I have an ethical alignment with their company?
Awesome.
Right?
I
So
like that. Value is very important.
Yeah, I'm very big on that. And the reason why partially is obviously the holistic approach to that being good, good for society. But the other thing as well is it's very important as a creative to believe in the work you're doing. Because if you don't believe in it, number one, you're not giving that client your absolute 100% effort and value. And that I feel will show on your work.
Oh,
so
100%.
The alignment of clients is extremely important. That being said, we then sort of focus on a more premium product. So because of the business model we've created and what I'm growing it into, we sort of cater for more medium-sized business. We will help small business though, but they need to have a budget that's going to align with the production value of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm a very big believer in empowering people, which is what I love about your show here and what you do, is empowering people to create their own content or to implement their own strategies through marketing and like how you have your online course and everything like that. So I'm actually a huge advocate for, putting content and knowledge out there for people to do their own basic stuff together. But what you'll find with film and with video content is they'll get to a point where you can only do so much as an individual or maybe a two-party team, where you then need to call in a production company that has the resources to articulate and facilitate a larger production. And that's where we sit.
Yeah, and it's perfect to educate people so that they understand then what is behind what you charge.
That's a byproduct.
Yeah, they totally get it.
For sure.
I have a question based on something that you just said, sort of vetting your customers, because I know a lot of people really struggle to say no to the wrong client. So how do you say no? What do you say? Is it a form? Is it a template email? Is it a message, phone call? How does that work?
That's a really,
so imagine you say no a lot.
Really good question.
Thanks.
We don't say no a lot, but I definitely do say no. What I try to do is, in the shortest amount of time as possible, is identify if we are going to be a good fit, and that's just 101 qualifying. And then to take that further as quickly as possible as well, so we're not wasting each other's time. I'll then think about it logically and from an outward perspective. I won't look at what my needs are. I won't look at it and go, I really want this work. We could really do with the cash flow, la 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 la. I'll go, is this actually going to be a good fit for both parties, and is it adding value to both of our businesses and our lives? And if I don't see an alignment, I'll then recommend that they either call this company or I'll offer them solutions, and say,
I like what you just said.
Perhaps you should try that yourself, or perhaps you should talk to someone that specializes in that price range or that sort of style of videography or filmmaking or content creation.
So you explain why. And that's all you can do, guys. You've just got to make it authentic. But what I think elevates you to even more expert status is then being able to recommend them on to somebody else. Because that says, I can't help you, but I know who can. And people like that.
For sure, absolutely.
Cool. All right, so back to videography. What do you say to people who do not believe in hiring a professional?
Okay, that's a really good question as well. I think it's really important to share with your audience, and thank you for your time today, by the way, because I know that this is very, it's a lot of time to watch and it's really good. I think it's very fundamentally important to identify the difference between videography and film production and higher end production. I feel that if we cast our eyes abroad and look at what's happening in Europe and in the United States, which are traditionally like the market leaders of where life goes in Australia,
It's true.
I feel that we need to address that and look at that and see where the bar is being set. And the reality is that it's not just social media anymore. It's media. It's where people's attention is. You've got Facebook with 2.2 billion active users every day, and the growth rates of these platforms getting so much stronger and stronger. The reality is that you need to have content where your audience is enjoying consuming it, because if they're not enjoying consuming it, then you're wasting their time and you're not truly adding value.
100%.
Yep.
Yep.
And then it comes down to a matter of simple economics. Is your business in a position where you can afford, and are you going to get the return on investment on if you pay a professional videographer or if you engage with a professional production company? And again, that's where you need to look at it and go, right, do we look at producing our own content, 1 minute videos in-house with an iPhone like we're making today on an iPhone? You know, these are very powerful tools. Very powerful tools.
Can you imagine? Like, I don't know what your first phone was, but my first phone was a Nokia 8210.
Yeah.
I don't think it didn't have a camera.
I had the
3210,
5110 and the 3210
the brick
with Snake.
with Snake.
Yeah, the yellow banana cover or the green cover.
But like what you can do on a phone now, like
It's
you said
remarkable.
before, you can create an entire movie.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. You literally can create a full movie on an iPhone now. It's phenomenal. It shoots in 4K resolution, which, you know, is absolutely massive, high quality. You've got 200 frames a second super slow motion. To add context, this camera here shoots in 200 frames a second. It's a Panasonic Lumix. And that combination, you're looking at about $7,000 for the body, the Metabones adapter, and a Sigma lens. So, you know, to buy a DSLR to shoot in that spec, you're looking at a $7,000 investment, or you can use it on your phone if you just take the time to learn your software a little bit and learn your hardware and see what it's truly capable of.
I have a question. So then, if you film something on an iPhone, could you play it at the movie cinema on that screen?
Yeah, you can. There was a feature film made in America about 18 months ago, I believe. That was completely filmed on cell phones, and that aired at a cinema. So
that's so crazy.
Cinema is a bigger profile. It is. It's crazy. Like, cinema is a bigger profile. However, 4K with adjustments in post-production enabled it to display it.
And I guess for people listening who maybe are newbies to this whole world, what's 4K?
Okay, so 4K is the
One
resolution.
More than 3K.
Yeah, exactly.
One more 5K.
That's right. So I'm not a tech head or a gearhead, but
this table says otherwise.
So it's the size of the image, and 4K represents 3:9:10 by. Oh man, you're putting me on the spot right now. It's a numerical value that gives you the picture profile. And so like 1080p is like the same. It's 1080 by 1910, and that's the shape and the size of the image.
Okay.
As you go up to a larger and larger image, you then have more like pixels per square inch that can get displayed, which means it's a sharper picture.
Okay.
And then what you can do with that is you can take that image on a camera or your phone. And here's a little tip for you, right? If you want to up your phone content, a lot of people will use the digital zoom on a camera, but what I recommend is you actually take your picture or your video and then scale it.
I saw that. You put something on Facebook about that.
Yeah, that's right.
See, I've been watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, good tip.
And so scale it like after, so you take that image, and these phones are so small, it's kind of like 320p or 420p is the size of the screen. 4K is like a massive, huge 60-inch or 70-inch TV. So you got all this resolution to play around with, you know?
What's the biggest amount of K?
So Red cameras make a camera which is 8K.
Oh, so it's not even that much more. It's just
it's huge. It's double.
Oh.
But that double is like extrapolated, like so it goes like up to a 4K, up to 5K, up to 6K, up to 8K. And that image is like, if you think already how big 4K is, that 8K image.
Why would you need something 8K?
Well, if we take it a step further, if you remember the film The Revenant.
Is that the one with Leonardo and the bear?
Directed by Alejandro, exactly.
Yes.
So that was shot in like an even larger resolution. So like you're talking like, I think it's like 65mm film or something, which is even bigger again. And so it's just, it's to like really create a powerful, like on a big screen, it's to create a really impressionable, you're capturing so much image, it's, you know, so emotive. And it's like, wow, because your eyes are just like...
telling the story.
Exactly, yeah. Like when in The Revenant they come through those shots on the mountains, you know, they're shooting out of a helicopter, and you just see this landscape that is just mind-blowing, you know. It's like, wow, that's so incredible, and it's because of the information our eyes and brains are processing. Yeah, it's really cool.
I love interviewing people. Actually, everyone I've interviewed has been passionate, but I love people that love what they do, and it's like seeping out of your pores, because I can feel it.
It's cool,
I can feel it seeping. All right, let's look at the content that we're creating then.
Yep.
So obviously if you breathe, you would know that everyone tells you it's really important to create different content for different platforms. So from your opinion, why is that so important?
Well, your audience is emotionally connected to each platform differently. So if I think of how I consume content, I like to sit down and when I watch YouTube, it's my me time. So I watch a lot of YouTube and I have done for like 9 years. And I'm watching YouTube on a TV screen, in an armchair or in bed on a nice laptop. Or in the morning, I'll watch some online tutorials and keep consuming knowledge. And that's my me time with a cup of coffee or a chai. And I immerse myself into that for 15, 20, 30 minutes. So you've got to think about where you're putting your content and how is this person or when are they going to be watching it.
Yeah, I think
so
that's a really good tip.
Yeah, so
put yourself into the daily life of your customer and when they're seeing what they're seeing from you, and probably as well how much time they've got to give you in that moment.
And you know, like one of the biggest myths I felt I debunked initially a few years ago when I started the business is that social media videos just need to be 15 seconds or 30 seconds or this, that, the other. I mean, yeah, if you're putting it in a story, for sure. However, you're not going to make a YouTube channel, which is social media, and put up a 1-minute video necessarily because your audience or the audience on YouTube is there for long-form content. And some of the highest engagement-based YouTubers in the world, like Matt D'Avella or Peter McKinnon or Casey Neistat, when he was vlogging every day, were making anywhere from 8 to 20-minute videos. And people watching those entire videos then going down and commenting, la 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 la, I really liked this, I loved that, da 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 da, and engaging in a community.
Yeah, right.
So you've really got to think about where's that content going, and how the audience is going to consume it and how you're giving them the best value.
And I think something as well, based on what you've said, do what the platform allows you to do because it has those restrictions for a reason. You know,
absolutely.
There's a reason why Instagram stories are in 15-second blocks.
Right. Yeah. And incidentally, they're now being pushed out. So you can actually film for 40 seconds, upload it, and Instagram will chop it into 15-second bites. But just like how we've seen IGTV come about, just like how Facebook organically boosts 3-minute videos over shorter videos, we're seeing all this attention coming together, and longer form content will organically happen as people's thirst and demand is just there to get stimulation and information and entertainment from their platforms.
I love that.
It's very cool.
It is cool.
It's really cool.
It's cool.
It's so fascinating to watch it.
I have a question that isn't in here,
Cool.
but what's your best tips for people that are scared to go on camera?
Okay, that's a really good question. I feel as though
people are
totally. Totally. And look, I mean, being blunt, like that's ego talking. Right? It's our ego. It's our ego that stops us from going on camera.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel as though that a good place to start is to look within and figure out why you want to go on camera. Okay, so ask yourself, what is the purpose? Is that adding value, or is it just because everyone else is doing it? And then once you go through that journey, I feel as though that going on camera and not necessarily posting is a really good thing to start with. So getting comfortable and learning, it's a skill set, and there's a reason why presenters are paid extremely well, and it's a profession, and it's like, you know, we're in a day and an age where I feel like society kind of goes, well, anyone can hold a camera and just go on camera, and in a way that's true, but then at the same time, on a deeper level,
you realize it's completely different.
Totally. And it's like, it's so fascinating, like the most alpha personalities I work with are more often the ones that absolutely cave. As soon as you set a couple of cameras up with lighting and you have a small production crew there and they're ready to then deliver their message, that down at the pub sounded amazing, or in the shower or the bathroom or the car sounded amazing. Like, how many people do videos in their car? Let's analyze that, you know. It's because you're in your safety cocoon and you've got no judgment coming in, you've got no feedback, no criticism. It's purely you and your ego in this safe little sanctuary.
With airbags.
And you got airbags, right?
Just in case.
Right? So yeah, that my biggest tip would be to practice first, refine your process. Then when you get to a level where you're feeling comfortable and accept that it's okay to suck, Like, it's okay to suck.
It's
We
okay to
all
suck.
fucking suck. Am I allowed to swear
Yeah.
here? Sorry.
Oh, go for it. Swear away.
Where we all sucked at some point. My first 55 videos on YouTube were terrible. They're cringe factor. But it was a process that I wanted to go through, so I had more empathy for my actors that I work with now. So I had more empathy for the art, the creation of film and content and etc. And you know, like it's like 10,000 hours. You do anything for 10,000 hours, you're gonna get good at it.
That's
right?
expert status. And also, like, you have to suck to learn.
Yeah, it's
That's
part
how
of the
you
process.
learn.
And having that humility to put yourself out there and say, hey, well, this is me and this is what I want to do. And I'm going to put that out there for you to judge me, and to be humble and modest enough to take that judgment when someone leaves you a shitty comment or send you a DM like I've had, and they're like, hey, Cam, you know, like, have you tried this, or you should do this? Oh, man, I welcome it. I'm like, thank you. Like, thank you for taking your time. Thank you for watching my content. And thank you for giving me that feedback that I can then apply and learn and level up.
That's so awesome. I'm glad that, because there's a lot of creatives that don't like to get feedback, constructive or not. Yeah. So it's nice to hear that.
A lot of stuck-up artists that think their shit don't stink.
All right, next question. Okay, so for someone watching that cannot afford to hire a professional yet, what are your best tips for them? Because there will be a lot of people watching like that.
Okay, yes, small businesses, right?
Small businesses, yeah.
Okay, so tip number 1, think outside the box. So bring your community in and potentially co-fund a project.
Ooh, I like that.
And the other thing to consider as well is the shelf life of the video. You'll be surprised if you get a nicely polished video that you pay $5,000 to $10,000 for. That could last you a year. You could use that a year and keep building on that one video and then seed smaller videos off it. I feel a lot of people just look at the number in the box and go, it's just one video, it's 10 grand, I can't afford it. But if I asked you this question, if you invested $10,000 and over the next 18 months, we're gonna make $150,000 or $200,000 revenue off that 10 grand investment, how many of you would say no? Now, if it's hard to find the 10 grand, look at, if you're for example, I've got a grocery store that I work with in Carlton, and they were straight onto it, and they're bringing in other businesses around the area to do cross collaborations with, and more established businesses, and say, hey, let's get the farmer in that we get our tomatoes from, and let's get the potato guys in, and let's get the lettuce people in, and they've got this boutique a grocery store, and it's like, right, if you chuck 1,000, we get a full day shoot, we can then edit up, a few different variations of video, we all get content, we're all telling a story, and we're bringing the community into it, and it's very powerful.
I like that idea. And also, something that I was thinking as well, for yourself, you run workshops.
Yeah, I've ran 2. Yeah, I ran 2. Thank you for coming. It was really appreciated. I think we had 15 or 16 people come. It was in Perth 12 months ago.
Would you do that again?
I would, yeah, I would. I really enjoy them, and I feel that the members and the people that attend really get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's something I need to revisit. Like a lot of business owners will empathize right now. It's, I guess, like your time stretching and trying to figure out that how to do everything. Yeah. And I've been going through a massive growth period this 12 months where I've picked up work internationally, and I guess, like,
how did you get the international clients?
Through networking.
Sick.
Yeah, through networking. Yeah.
That's so cool. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
So, you're on Instagram.
Yes.
How do you, doing what you do in your industry, use Instagram to attract customers? Well, firstly, do you get customers off Instagram?
I get a few.
Okay.
Yeah, I get a few. I've got a bit of work through Instagram. I definitely feel it's a very valuable platform. I definitely feel that your perspective and the course that you run on it is a really good foundation to understand how the platform works. I feel that if you go on there with great content but don't understand how to manipulate the platform, you literally can have the best content in the world, and if no one's seeing it, you're going to do your head in. And I went through that phase.
Did you?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, I started putting some what I feel was pretty good content up there.
Yep.
And it was just like I felt like my wheels were spinning. And I think that's one big evolution that I've realized is around like distribution.
Yeah.
That's a fundamental thing.
Absolutely.
I think distribution is equally as important as the content creation.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your tips for getting that message out there then? So you've got the great content, then what do you do with it?
Well, doing courses like what you offer, becoming a part of the social network
I didn't
club.
pay him for that, I promise.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's a genuine plug. And yeah, finding the time to learn that aspect of the business, or leveraging the millennials. People don't leverage the millennials enough. These people are smart. They're switched on. They've had so much information. I feel like they're 10 times smarter than what I was at their age. A lot of them are very entrepreneurial minded. And I feel as though that you can do, especially if you're an established business and you've got something to offer them as well, by bringing them on 1 or 2 days a week or whatever it works out to be, and having them manage your social media accounts. And look, you've got to vet them, you've got to vet them. You can't just interview a couple of them and just go, okay, cool, pick this one. Oh no, it didn't work for me. Screw it, I'm not going to do it. You got to be smart about it. You got to put the effort in. But it's again, those foundations, if you get those right and leverage the right people and bring the right people into your business, over a 3 to 6 month period, you're going to get great results.
Totally.
So leveraging millennials, I think, is a big thing. And then either making that choice, do you want to pay an organization to take care of it for you, or are you going to manage that aspect of the business if you enjoy it and let another bit of the business go? Because we can't do everything. It's learning to let go of something and take on something,
It's so true. You've got to pull back to move forward.
Yeah, totally. It's a big thing. Otherwise, we're working in the business and not on the business. Yeah. Yeah,
which is a struggle. I feel like so many business owners try, and it's an ongoing task in business, how to find that balance between working in your business and working on your business.
Totally.
So how do you find that balance?
Look, I find it pretty tough at times because I moved to Melbourne just over 12 months ago. I knew 3 people, so I went and really kind of took that plunge head first, a new city. I think it's important to stop and assess where you're at on a regular basis, and how you do that.
I love that.
There's many ways to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to take check of where you are, and then again, I feel that networking is very important.
Yeah.
And like cross collaborations, but collaborations need to be equal for both parties. A lot of people use the word collaboration, and it's all one sided. Like, do you want, especially when you've got one of these things and you're good at it, the amount of people that hit you up, like, let's collaborate. It's like, no, you want free videos or free photos. That's not collaborating, right? You know?
But I'll tell all my friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and exposure, don't get me started on exposure.
I can't pay my bills with exposure.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, out of the few jobs that I did do initially for exposure, I got nothing out of it.
Yeah.
I never got anything out of
there.
it. Yeah. I like the one thing I disagree with Gary Vaynerchuk is he's like, you gotta lay some skin and work for free and blah blah blah. I call bullshit on that, man. I think the time is now, and if you believe in yourself and you've got something to offer, you should be getting remunerated for it. And
100%.
The creative industry is an industry that gets so manipulated in the way people get paid for things, and it's very ambiguous, and it's a big thing to navigate through.
Isn't it
true? Yeah, it is.
I try and explain this to my husband all the time.
Yeah.
So he's a tradie, he installs air cons. No one would ever contact him and say, hey, or I don't know about you, but a lot of the time with myself for events, I get asked to do the event, and then they ask me to pay to speak at their event that they're making money off. And I think, can you imagine calling an aircon guy and going, how much do you want to pay to come to our house and install my aircon?
Yeah.
It bothers me that in our industry, in creatives, that is even an acceptable thing to do.
And I challenge anyone watching this and anyone out there to explain how it's different.
Yes, I love that.
Actually, I will sit down and have a conversation with you face to face, and I would love to hear how it's different.
Yes.
Because it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's still my time and my work.
It's wage theft.
Yes.
It's creativity theft. If someone's doing the work, they deserve to get paid for it.
And especially if someone's making money off you doing the work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I could talk about that all day.
Yeah.
Let's move on from there.
It's Brooke, I think it's very important, and it's the conversations that we need to have, right? It's the tough conversations we need to have. I've started a YouTube channel with a colleague and very close friend of mine, new friend evidently, but we've got very close very quickly, a lot of alignments, and it's called The Art of Creative Living. And we're going to be going all over Australia and I guess eventually the world. And yeah, we'll link.
We'll link it.
And we've just filmed our pilot episode, and one of the big topics is going to be around monetization and how artists are doing that. And then again, having these conversations. And again, this isn't like egotistical artists speaking like, oh, you know, we're entitled, we deserve all this money. No. This is like genuine wage theft and genuine. We are putting years of our life into learning a craft and ongoing equipment investing and ongoing skill set investing. And the companies that come to us are profitable companies that make money off our creativity, yet they don't want to pay the right rates for it, or they don't want to pay for it. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
Preach. Testify.
Yeah, right.
You'll have to share that with me when you do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are your best tips to create consistent content?
Yeah, that's a good question. Finding a framework that you enjoy and sticking to it, right? So not overcomplicating it. I feel a lot of people get up in their head and they overcomplicate their content.
Yep.
That's one aspect to it. And then you've got to enjoy doing it. And if you're not enjoying it, you then need to find someone that's willing to do it at a price that's in your budget, where they're happy and getting something out of it and getting them to take over.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's very important to have a structure that you can stick to that creates a workflow that is repeatable.
Yeah, I like that repeatable, because I think that's where a lot of business owners get unstuck / don't realize you don't need to come up with new stuff all the time.
That's right.
You just need to repeat the old stuff in a new and fresh way.
That's it. Yeah, and it's like just like reusing videos, like reposting certain videos. If you make a good video, repost it in a few months' time, and even say like, this is a repost, and the reason why is because I've got another 1,000 followers on my account now. We feel the values here, and do a throwback to it. If it's good content, don't be scared to rehash old topics. And yeah.
Great tip. Thank you.
Yeah,
all right. So you're getting engagement on all these different. Can you just share all the different social platforms you actually do use?
Yes. Yeah. Sure. So Facebook is probably my number one, followed by Instagram. I do have a YouTube account. However, that was more of just to kind of fill it up with content. I've never really pushed YouTube. However, with now The Art of Creative Living, we're going to start doing that. So I've got my own YouTube channel, which I had about 100 videos on. I started doing vlogs about 2.5, 3 years ago. I've taken them all off. Yeah, so they're all there, but I've hidden them all.
Okay.
And what I've done is I've just put a few quite creative projects on there.
Sure.
And my focus is now going to be on the art of creative living and going really hard with that. We're very fortunate that we've worked with on an ongoing basis some pretty influential people out there. We don't have a marketing budget right now, so we've collaborated with a really cool cafe in Carlton, and we've got some people with big accounts that we've been doing work with, and that's then going to help with the exposure and the getting the show out there quite quickly.
Totally, love that.
So that's one big thing we've done. But I used Facebook to start the business, and my mentality was that I had like 1,200 friends at the time, and I thought to myself, if I can get every single one of these people to know that I make videos, then that's a good place to start. And that 1,200
use
will
what
talk.
You've got.
Exactly. So that 1,200 will talk to 3,000, and then that 3,000 will whisper to 5,000.
I
and
like
so
that.
it worked
so
really well.
was that your personal account or a business page?
It was my personal one, yeah. And then I launched the business one and tried to get people over to it. And again, like I've probably spent maybe like on boosted posters in 2.5 years, maybe $1,000, $1,500, maybe a bit more. And I've probably generated, like I haven't checked recently, but we've probably generated about $250,000, $300,000 from Facebook and Instagram.
From just organic content.
Correct, all being organic, mostly organic. So I did one video.
$200,000.
That's probably close. It's probably close to $300,000. Yeah.
So organic content marketing is worth your time.
Yeah, it is. However, I do feel that it's changing, but I think you're more qualified to speak about that than I am.
Mm-hmm.
With Instagram reach being 7% on the wall, however, I feel that stories is where it's at. Stories is so fucking powerful.
I love
Like,
stories.
smash stories and then link them to places you want to go. If you've got swipe up, if you're 10K plus, you're like lucky, and I really need to push my audience to have that feature. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, stories are so powerful. Like the views and engagement you get on stories is mind blowing.
Yeah. And something that I just want to touch on, if you don't have 10K followers, something that you can do as well, which really starts and builds a closer relationship, so warms your lead up and makes them easier to sell to, is integrating things like, if you want to learn more about this, shoot me a DM, or add the question sticker.
Right.
Add your email address here and I'll send you more details. So there's definitely ways that you can get around it.
Catch people,
and if you can get that email address, that's more valuable than a swipe up link. I tell you, because then you've got them for life.
That's true.
Unless they unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe,
You've always got it.
But if you keep good content and don't spam them, they shouldn't unsubscribe. So,
Totally.
That's a great tip. That's really
Do you
cool.
have a newsletter?
So I did my first newsletter a few weeks ago. My website's sort of only just recently got to a point where I feel it's adding value to people. So if you want to check it out, it's www.whatproduction.com.au. So no S's, but it's been built by a really good friend of mine. It's a WordPress site. I'm very grateful, and he's interjected his creativity into it. But I've just started the newsletter thing. It's definitely an area that I want to focus on.
Yep.
It's just like all these things to do. I'm trying to find what's going to give me the best return for my time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's nothing that stops you from just building up that database, and then when you're ready, you'll be ready.
That's exactly right.
You know, I think it is really important. Don't try and do 20,000 things.
Right.
Focus on where you're getting return, where your customers are contacting you from, and then put a little bit more energy into other things when you feel like, okay, I've got a handle on this.
Right.
I can move on.
Right. Focus that energy onto a point as opposed to that shotgun approach.
Yeah, because otherwise you just get overwhelmed, and then something else comes along and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do that too? So, you know, for me, I only started this YouTube channel earlier this year because, as I think you shared a video, obsessed with Sailing the Vagabond. My husband and I are obsessed.
Yeah, they've just hit 1 million.
I know, it's insane. So their whole story, we've been following them since the start, so that really inspired me.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I was always like, I want to get on YouTube.
That's because I shared it?
Oh no, I'd already watched it. So when you shared it, I was like, oh, somebody else knows what it is.
Yeah, I've met Riley.
Have you?
Yeah, so I met Riley about 4 years ago.
Cool.
He walked through the pub and he was on the phone to his mum, and they had about 40,000 subs at the time. And so I'll tell you the backstory quickly because this is how connected the world is. I started watching SV Delos, which is the original sailing YouTube channel. And I'm now very good friends with Yosha, who was on Delos for about 5 years. And then my friends got me onto them, and then La Vagabond started, Riley and Elena. And Riley was walking at, what's that rooftop bar in the city? The Avery? Yeah, Avery. And he's on the phone to his mum, and my mate's like, hey, that's Riley. And good old confident Cam was like, hey, Rouse.
Confident Cam! Oh my God, I love that.
I was like, Rouse. He's like, Mum, I've been spotted. I've got to go. And he comes over with his big mustache, his beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah.
And we're like, bro, we love what you're doing. It's really cool.
It's
and
cool,
I was not in film yet. I was coming out, like transitioning out of housing, and I had started a tech company with 2 business partners developing an app called Travel Chats, which never got off the ground. We parked it. And anyway, so Riley went and met with his mates, and then he's like, I'll come back over when I got some time. And he did. He came over and had a beer with us for like 40 minutes.
That's really cool.
So yeah, and now my friend Yosha's really close with them, and she's sailed with them. And yeah, it's really crazy how it's all connected.
No,
so yeah.
What a small world.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Wow, but they're just if you follow them from the start, it's a really good story of sort of how they've developed even in their skill. But we kind of got sidetracked. But my point was, I only started the YouTube channel 3.5 years into Instagram.
Right.
So I did Instagram.
Right.
And now, when I feel like I have nailed Instagram, which I feel pretty good about
You're
Instagram.
You're doing it very well.
I feel
very
like I'm
well.
doing all right.
Absolutely.
I was like, now I am ready.
Cool.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm
Just
still
take
learning.
That transition across.
Yeah. And I feel confident on Instagram, and it's also having the confidence to know how to, if I'm going to push content on YouTube, how to integrate that into what I'm already doing on Instagram as well, which I think is important too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I think that was one of our questions as well.
Yeah.
How do you actually, no, it's not on there, but okay, I've created this video, and like you said, you have like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc., etc.
Yeah.
How do I then LinkedIn? How do I then maximize it for all channels to really make it, you know, really give it that plug?
Right. Okay. So the question, if I'm not mistaken, is how do you create the content and maximize your time on creating content to then filter it through the other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a really long-winded
No,
way
it's
of
a
asking
great.
that
That's
question.
a really good question. No, not at all. I just want to make sure I answer it correctly and I've
But
understood
you
it.
may as well, right? You've got all these ways to reach your audience, so
like,
you may
I
as
would
well.
start from the top down, and that's what I do, right? So I take these things everywhere. For a little while, I sort of stopped as I was getting acquainted with Melbourne, but like now I'm back carrying these things everywhere I go.
Do you want to show the people all the other things?
Yeah, so we've got a drone. This is a very entry-level semi-pro series drone. You've probably all seen them flying around. It's a Mavic. You can get these second-hand or refurbished for $1,000 now.
Where do you buy them second-hand?
DJI store online, I believe. Amazon. Wow. Yeah, there's plenty of places.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get like their fake ones or anything like that?
I just make sure it's DJI. Yeah, and I think it's pretty good market where you're not going to get ripped off.
Okay, cool.
But you know, do your due diligence as one always should. But I mean, these things are phenomenal. Like this shoots 4K. It's it's got a range of 7 kilometers. We were driving the boat yesterday, which is why I'm a little bit pink on top.
I could have given you some makeup.
Yeah, right.
You actually are now that
got some hot spots, man. I sun smarted as well. I applied 3 times yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you poor thing.
I know, right?
You must be sensitive. You've been in Melbourne
I've been in Melbourne, exactly. Yeah. I had the Melbourne Casper tan. I was giving my skin a rest from living in WA for most of my life.
I love it.
So yeah, and like a microphone as well is very important. So that's kind of my what we call run and gun setup that goes everywhere with a wide angle lens on it. But what I kind of do is, to answer your question, is I'll curate the content with like either Facebook or YouTube at the forefront. And I'll make the video around that, but then I'll secondarily go, all right, this is cool shots. I want to integrate this into Instagram. So obviously the profile changes unless I put it in IGTV, which you can't have the option to go sideways. But then I'll consider my framing. So am I going to use the rule of thirds and carry someone into a corner? Well, then they're not going to get seen on Instagram when I change the profile of video.
Yes,
so thinking about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially I'll kind of curate it for like 6-7 minute video because I love longer form content. And then I'll put bite-sized chunks into my story and blow everyone away with drone shots of us driving up the coast of the convertible the other day and everyone going, how the freaking hell did you film that? It's like, well, it's magic. It's magic.
It's what I do.
It's magic, you know? Like, it's entertaining, it's magic.
And what is that furry slipper that you've got over there?
So this is called a dead cat. Really important, like
I
audio.
love cats.
Yeah.
Why can't it be called something nicer? Like a happy possum.
Could be a happy possum.
Let's start calling it a happy possum.
So like audio quality is very important. I feel audio quality is where a lot of people should really focus on their attention to. West Australia, as we know, gets extremely windy, so you really should be going with this thing everywhere. And it slips over the microphone to just mitigate as much wind noise as possible. And you can get them like even on your phones. You can get a small microphone with a little dead cat on top.
Where do you get them from? Because I went to JB Hi-Fi to try and get one.
Okay.
And they did not have, and they were all a bit like, oh, we don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well,
like, surely this is a thing.
We'll plug Leadable Cameras. I do a bit of collaboration with Leadable Cameras, Lydio and the staff. Lydio's the owner. They've been there. It's a family-run business. They've been very supportive of myself over my career. So Leadable Cameras is a great spot. If you go there, mention my name and you'll get a discount as well. So mention Cam Watt or Cam Watt. Make sure you do it because they'll actually really will take care of you as well.
It's so good that your name is Cam. If you were called
Cam
like
the cameraman,
Dave, it just wouldn't be the same. Could you imagine? What's your
Dave the
name?
director. Dave the director.
Okay, let's go for like, I don't know, Stephen.
Albert.
What's your middle name?
My middle name's James.
Well, thank God they didn't call you James.
What if they call me James Cameron?
Oh my God!
Oh my
Whoa! That is mind-blowing! Could you imagine? People just wouldn't believe you.
I'd be making the Titanic. We'd be in my submarine doing this interview right now. We'd be 10 kilometers down in the sea.
We just might be.
Look at that fish.
The big Joby. So right now, my phone, which I'm using to record this, is on a little Joby tripod, but this is the big Joby.
Yeah, this is a 5 kilogram one, so it can support one of
camera.
these.
And these are really good because you can bend and twist the legs, arms.
They're
legs.
amazing.
Are they arms or legs? Legs?
Legs, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you can bend them around things and have like all different heights. And they're not even that expensive. So get yourself a mini Joby.
Yeah, definitely.
They're called Gorilla Pods.
Yep.
And they're really handy.
It's like an alien thing.
It's like an alien.
Terminator.
Do you have any other tricks that you would like to share with the people?
Any other tricks? Man, I got a lot of tricks. I got lots of tricks.
Pulls out big bag.
Yeah, big bag of tricks. I feel that with film equipment, keeping it as compact as possible is ideal because it's then not an encumbrance. And I find that if it's an encumbrance, a lot of people, being lazy humans that we are, will just go, this is too hard, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah,
So
true.
buy smart, buy small.
What do you recommend is the first thing people buy? Like someone's watching this, they
Yep.
have an iPhone
Yep.
and they want to make that next
They want to
move.
step it up.
What's the next best thing?
That's a great question. I would 100% go a DSLR camera with a microphone attachment. Now, so whether you go a smaller mirrorless camera or you go for a more sort of chunky, elaborate DSLR, but I would definitely recommend switching to a DSLR camera with audio options. And then
how many monies is that?
Depends on what you buy, but then the big thing to add on to that to package this up is the lens. So your camera is shooting nice and wide, so you've got all your wide stuff, but what you're lacking is zoom. And that's going to really give you a nice scope of like cool shots and creativity and artisticness. So the number one combo I kind of recommend people starting off is to get something with a 24 to 100-ish focal length, which is something like this here. Something like this is going to last you for like 7 or 8 years if you look after it.
That's a good investment.
Yeah, and if you go with like a Canon option, you could probably get a body. And again, look secondhand. There's so much secondhand camera equipment on the market.
But we think
if it's
Canon?
late model, but yeah, Canon's great because it's easy. Canon's plug and play. If you want to start going more complex, you then look at Sony's or Panasonic's Lumix. This is a very complex camera. Like to learn to use this is full on. This can actually film a Netflix movie on this camera, and it looks like a stills camera. It actually sucks at photography, but it is amazing for video. So it's technology's changing, but that zoom is what I would inherently encourage you to do. And think about your business as well. Like are you on construction side? Do you need to maybe get a drone? One of my clients, Vicor Construction, they recently invested in a drone, and I was stoked for them. I actually wrote the owner. I was like, hey, it's really cool to see you've got the drone. If you want me to swing by and help you fly it or anything like that, give you some tips, just let me know. I can do that. So yeah, I really like to see people taking that next step into what they're creating. Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
So off the equipment, just to wrap up a little bit and get more business. What is the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Don't start in the beginning. Get a job. Get a job.
No, don't tell them that.
Get a job.
Don't do it. Abort.
Okay. I've been self-employed now for 13 years.
Okay.
I got seriously messed over in my last industry with a David versus Goliath situation.
Okay.
And I think number one is being really clear, firm and structured and contractually structured with your payment terms.
That's a really, really good tip. And don't be afraid.
Yeah.
To have a contract.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's your first day of your first job
Totally.
ever. Have it written down.
Yeah.
Have it signed.
Your contract can be an evolution as well. Don't allow businesses larger than you to push on you their agenda, because they will do it and they'll take advantage, and they don't understand the significance of the impact of them paying their bill a day late, a week late, a month late, or just cancelling some work that you might have booked in. So taking booking deposits is massive. Staggering payments in part payments if you're that kind of organization where you have multiple layers to your service or product. Or if you're a product-based company and you're supplying B2B and you're maybe selling 20 grand of inventory or 20 grand to, you got to protect yourself in this time. The climate is very volatile. I don't give a shit what people tell you, how much money you think they've got or whatever. Usually there's different layers of that truth. And unfortunately, you'll then have people manipulate and take advantage of that as well. Even if they do have that money, they just won't pay their bills. So really get strict and firm. I mean, like, you don't go to Coles and ring up your groceries and say, guys, I'll sort you out in 5 days' time. It's no different for videography if you're a florist or if you're supplying meat. Like, operating on 30-day contracts or 30-day invoice billing terms, I think is so antiquated. $1 earned today is not the same as $1 paid tomorrow. And I feel as though it's a bullshit old school mentality. I'll write you a check. No, man. Get onto your ANZ bank, get into your Commonwealth bank. That money will be straight into the account. If you're delivering a product, get fucking paid. It's that simple. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a microphone?
That's a mic drop. Yeah, we got a microphone.
Don't drop it. I'm
Should
scared.
we? They're really strong. This fell off a car.
No, don't
40K.
drop it.
It bounces. Ready?
Splatters to pieces.
It actually fell off a car. I was doing a documentary in Queensland, and this fell off a car at 60 k's an hour. Woo. And this has fallen so many times. Theirs is so strong. And all I lost was the front clip. And Rode was really kind. So thank you, Rode, in Sydney. They just sent me a new clip for free. Good customer service.
Good customer service goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's been amazing.
Cool.
So much value.
Thanks.
So many tips for such a range of small business owners. I hope that everybody watching this really got a lot out of that interview. And thank you, Cam, for your time and your knowledge.
No worries.
So if people do want to work with you, how can they get in touch?
Best way is either on the website or Instagram. So the website's linked below, or it's www.whatproduction.com.au, or my Instagram is camcamwatt, and you can send me a DM. We work all over.
DMs.
Yeah, you slide into the DMs. we operate all over Australia. I've got a permanently based team in Perth. And I have a permanently based team in Melbourne. We're travel ready, usually with 48 hours notice. We can be on a plane because sometimes that happens. People need content filmed quickly, things happen. So we encourage you to reach out to us. And if you want to look at international bookings as well, we'll travel abroad and
Cool.
Yeah, we love it. Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
very
excited
much.
for what the future holds.
Right.
And make sure you follow us on Instagram, like this video, subscribe if you want to be notified to
Smash
get more
the bell
videos.
notification, comment as well.